Hey, hello out there, viewer land, all you viewers that are viewing, we appreciate you for viewing. All you playbackers that are playing back, we appreciate you playing back. I have no idea what I just said. Anyway, we are welcoming you to the March Pen Parentis Literary Salon. This is a super duper exciting one. And Christina will tell us all about what you are going to see today. I'm Anya Blau, founder of Pen Parentis. This is Christina Chu.
Hello.
This way. This is Christina, author of Beauty and amazing curator of the Pen Parentis Literary Salons. And here we are. Let's go. Let's start talking about people. And then
Hello. We have 4 amazing authors today. But before we have our authors, Milda, you want to thank our sponsors?
I can do that before they come up. Yes, I can. So we want to thank the DeGroat Foundation, as always. Yay! Thanks, Claudette. And we want to thank poets and writers who use funding from the DCLA to pay our authors. And we want to, of course, thank NYSCA, the New York State Council on the Arts, for giving us funding, and the National Book Foundation and the Poetry Foundation for their ongoing support. So that's our major sponsors. And of course, we love our front row people.
Hello.
We see you out there, Charles Salzberg. We see you out there, Caitlin Solomon. Thank you very much for your donation and for sitting in the front row, because we'll just, talk to you if you say hi. Make sure that you guys who are out there, make sure that you drop your name and where you're from into the comments, because we can see them. Christina, can you please introduce the peoples?
We have 4 authors tonight, authors and filmmakers. Jessica Anya Blau. Her novels have been optioned for film and television and translated into many different languages and have been featured on the Today Show, the Good Morning America, CNN, and NPR, and in Cosmo, Vanity Fair, Bust, Time Out, Oprah, Summer Reads, and other national publications. Everyone, please welcome Jessica Anya Blau. Yay! Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Our second author is Victor LaValle. He's the author of the short story collection Slapboxing with Jesus, which I absolutely love. 5 novels: Ecstatic, Big Machine, The Devil in Silver, The Changeling, which is an Apple TV Plus starring Lakeith Stanfield, everyone, and Lone Woman, and 2 novellas, Lucretia and the Croons and The Ballad of the Black Tom. He's also the creator and writer of 2 comic books, Victor LaValle's Destroyer and Eve. Everyone, please welcome Victor LaValle.
Yay! Welcome back, Victor. Yes.
Our third reader is Helen Wan. She's a novelist, professor, and media lawyer. Like she doesn't have enough to do. Her debut novel, The Partner Track, was a book club selection of Real Simple magazine, the National Association of Women Lawyers, and the subject of a Washington Post magazine cover story on Asian Americans in the legal profession. Helen's novel is also the basis for the original TV series Partner Track. You've seen it, it's on Netflix. Everyone, please welcome Helen Wan.
Yay! Hello, Helen. Welcome back, Helen. Next.
And our final reader tonight is Trey Ellis. He's the American Book Award-winning novelist, 2-time Emmy and Peabody-winning filmmaker, NAACP Image Award-winning playwright, essayist, and professor of professional practice at Columbia University School of the Arts. Everyone, please welcome Trey Ellis.
Yay! Welcome back. So what we want to do is make sure that everybody out there, again, knows that if you drop your name into the chat, we know that you're there. For instance, hi, Amy. Thanks for watching from Queens. We really appreciate you. And so if you can always, throughout the show, drop comments, drop questions, tell us that you're out there. We don't know that you're out there unless you tell us you're out there. But we are watching the comments. So please, get active.
Yes. Also, tonight is book to screen. So please ask your questions.
You know you have them. I also want to thank Yvonne, Jessica, Shari, Kim, Vanessa, Junghua, and Jillian for donating on their way in. Thanks so much. We appreciate your support. Just real quick while I have you, Pen Parentis is a national nonprofit. It helps writers stay creative after they have kids. All of these writers have phenomenal bios and kids. So you can do it too. All you have to do is find out how. And what we do is we have these salons once a month and we ask people, how did you do this? Like, how, really how? So So that's what the salons are. And they're once a month on the second Tuesday of the month. You know, sign up. You can subscribe on YouTube and just watch them in playback, or you can watch them live and ask your own questions. See, hi, Sarah. Thank you very much. Watching in Belmar. Oh, no. Hi, Sarah. Sarah says hi. Watching in Belmar, New Jersey. She says hi to Jessica. Jessica, do you know Sarah?
Hi.
Hi. Sarah, hi. Sarah. There you go. So, yeah, cool.
Oh, Sarah
So,
Chantel. Yeah.
yeah, see?
I had to put on my glasses.
I know. We can see you out there. That's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Kind of awesome. So, a few quick like housekeeping. Our fellowship, we every year we offer a writing fellowship for new parents. So anybody who has a child 10 or under is eligible for this fellowship. It is the DeGroat Foundation funds the prize money. It's $2,000 for the top winner. Also, there's a $500 and a $250 for second and third. There is a year of mentorship. It comes with its participation in the cycle of support. You get an accountability group. You get to be part of our cycle of support in a very real and deep way. And we want to make sure that you do really well. Our current fellow, Helen Spencer, is doing very well. She's going to go to AWP and meet all the people in AWP. If you guys out there in viewerland are going to AWP, please stop by our table, because we're going to have a really, really fun time. Hi. Oh, it's Jahira. Hey, Jahira. I'm so glad you're down there. And Karen, hi. Oh, thanks for watching from California, even though I know you're a New Yorker. Cool. All right. So let's get started. Let's find out how to turn a book into a movie.
Hello, everyone. Let us do a longer introduction for each of our authors, and they're very long introductions. So bear with me, because these people have done a lot. I mean, all our authors always do a lot, but for some reason, like this one is just like, I had to kind of shorten stuff. I mean, just so that we could make it, in this time frame. And Trey is like a single parent. I don't know how you guys do this stuff, but it's pretty darn amazing. So our first reader is Jessica Anya Blau. And as I said, her novels have been optioned for film and television, translated into billion languages. She's been featured on The Today Show, Good Morning Show America, CNN, NPR. She's been in Cosmo, Vanity Fair, Bust, Time Out, Oprah Summer Reads. And her short stories and essays have been published in numerous magazines, journals, and anthologies. Jessica wrote the script for Mary Jane, her latest novel, which is in pre-production with Sony 3000 Pictures. She co-wrote the script for Love on the Run, starring Frances Fisher and Steve Howey. Her newest novel, Shop Girls. Are you reading from Shop Girls?
No, I'm going to read from Mary Jane.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have a copy of Shop Girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't.
How does that work?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that will be out on May 6th, so you can run to the store and get it, or you can, get it on Amazon, but it's always better.
You're not.
Anyway, Jessica.
You're getting it on Bookshop.
Yeah.
If you want to get their books, you'll get it on Bookshop.
We have our own Bookshop link, and all our authors are on it. So we're going to post it on here on the screen, so everyone, all the audience, can go there and buy them. And okay, so sometimes she's a ghostwriter. She teaches. She's taught at Johns Hopkins University, Groucho College, and the Fashion Institute of Technology. Jessica lives in New York. Her daughters are grown, but she still has a million stories for us. Thank you. Everyone, please welcome Jessica Anya Blau. Thank you for being here.
Jessica.
Thank you. All right, so you want me to read now?
Read a little bit.
Okay, so
read us something.
Okay, so this book takes place in 1975 in Baltimore, and it's sort of based on a true story, which is I met somebody at a party who had been a summer nanny for a psychiatrist who was hiding a world famous rock star and movie star on his third floor while the rock star was getting sober. And I just thought, are you kidding me? This really happened somewhere. So I had to fictionalize it and make it like my dream summer. Like I asked her all these questions, like, did you eat with them? Did you hang out? She's like, nah, not really. And I was like, oh my God, you were the wrong person to have that job. Like that would have been my dream job. So this is a straight-laced girl in a very conservative neighborhood in Baltimore that I discovered when I went there for graduate school. And she's a summer nanny, and there's a rock star. There's all these things happening in this house. So this is her first day at work, and she goes to church, she sings in her choir, she goes to the country club. She hasn't been exposed to much. And these people, this psychiatrist and his wife, are a little different. And they're my parents. I just made up my parents. And the house I grew up in, because we were the freaks of the neighborhood when I grew up. So just, all right. So Mrs. Cohn is actually my mother. So I'm starting with Mary Jane's first day of work. Mrs. Cohn opened the door for me, smiling and holding a cup of coffee. As she closed the door behind us, she splashed coffee on the floor of the foyer. She was wearing a nightgown that came to her knees and was unbuttoned down the front, revealing just about everything. I tried not to look. They're in the kitchen. Go on in. She turned and trotted up the stairs, ignoring the spell. Mary Jane, Izzy shouted. Izzy's the 5-year-old she's taking care of for the summer. We're in the kitchen. Dr. Cohn shouted as if Izzy hadn't. We're in the kitchen. In the kitchen, Izzy repeated. Coming. I couldn't bring myself to shout, so I announced myself again after I'd passed out of the living room, through the dining room, and into the kitchen. I'm here. Dr. Cohn was wearing pajama bottoms and a t-shirt. Izzy was wearing pink pajama pants and no shirt. Her taut belly sweetly popped out. I'm coloring, Izzy announced. I love coloring. I scooted in next to her on the blue cushioned banquette. Sorry, I'm skipping. What should we color? Izzy was sorting through a 6-inch high stack of coloring books. Bodies, Izzy said, and waved a coloring book in front of me. The human body was printed on the front. That looks cool. I gathered crayons from around the table and grouped them according to color. Let's do the penis. Izzy opened the book and started flipping through the pages. My face burned and I felt a little shaky. What color are you going to do the penis? Dr. Cohn asked, and I almost gasped. I'd never heard an adult say penis. I'd barely heard people my age say penis. The Kellogg twins were the 2 top students in our class, and they never said words like penis. Green! Izzy stopped at a page that showed a penis and scrotum. The whole thing looked droopy and boneless. The scrotum reminded me of half-rotted guavas that had started to wrinkle as they shrunk. Words were printed on the sign, and lines directed each word to what it was naming. This penis was larger and far more detailed than the one I'd barely glanced at on the anatomy drawing we'd been handed in sex ed class last year. In fact, upon receiving that handout, most girls took a pen and rapidly scratched over the penis so they wouldn't have to look at it. I was too afraid of the teacher to graffiti my paper. Sally Beaton, who sat beside me and was afraid of no one, saw my pristine page and reached from her desk to mine to scribble out the penis. Izzy picked up a green crayon and started frantically coloring the penis green. I wasn't sure if I should color with her or not. If it hadn't been a penis, I would have. But it was a penis. And Dr. Cohn was right there. Would he want a girl who colored a penis taking care of his daughter? Then again, his own daughter was coloring a penis. And I had to assume he or Mrs. Cohn had bought her the book. Help me, as he handed me a red crayon. I nervously started coloring the tip.
Yeah. This book was made into a movie?
Yes. And so that scene, you had asked me, I think, in an email. So that scene, so, as everybody else on this panel knows, so that scene stayed. And the part I skipped when I read also was skipped in the script. But that scene and that dialogue remained just, because it's kind of setting up the one family versus the other and how these people are in their world versus how her family is, so it was, and so, it was like the skipping was sort of setting the neighborhood, all this stuff that you see in a film that you don't have to write down the way you do in the book.
Yeah, all the description and stuff.
And did you work on your own screenplay or did somebody else write the screenplay for your?
I wrote the screenplay.
How was that?
It was fun. It was really fun. I liked it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to go deep into that when we
have
the major talkie.
No, it was fun. I liked the first set of notes. I think I almost cried with joy. The first set of notes that were like, there's a line on page 272. Can you put that in? There's a line. It was just stuff they wanted me to put back in. I was just slashing it to smithereens. And it was like, can you put stuff back in? I'm like, yeah, I'll put that in.
Yeah. So your friend Sarah wants to know if the movie includes voiceover in that scene.
No, there's no voiceover in anything. So it's
Okay.
just watching that in dialogue.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Next, you.
Thanks
Thank you,
for
Sarah.
choosing that funny
It was
section
really
for us.
funny.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we will come back to you. Our next reader is Victor LaValle. He's the author, as I said, of the short story collection Slackboxing with Jesus, the 5 novels, The Ecstatic, Big Machine, The Devil in Silver, The Changeling, and Lone Woman, and 2 novellas, Lucretia and the Croons, and The Ballad of the Black Tom. He's the author and creator and writer of 2 comic books, Victor LaValle's Destroyer and Eve. His novel, The Changeling, played 1 season on Apple TV.
One awesome season
Yeah.
on Apple TV. Just
His
putting
book,
that
The
out
Devil in
there.
Silver, is in production.
A great show.
When is it coming out? I can't wait.
Yeah.
He's been the recipient of numerous awards, including the World Fantasy Award, British Fantasy Award, Bram Stoker Award, Whiting Writers Award, a Guggenheim Fellowship, Shirley Jackson Award, and American Book Award.
Working on the Nobel Prize. I know.
Yeah, exactly. And the key to so he was raised in Queens, New York.
Yes.
He now lives in the Bronx with his wife, the writer Emily Roboteau, and their kids.
Yes.
He teaches at Columbia University and actually is very friendly with Trey Ellis, our later reader.
And is a super genius.
Everyone, please welcome Victor LaValle.
Ah! Is that Yorick in the background there?
Well, it's a skull from a past class of mine. A gift from a previous workshop. But it's real nice to be here. I'm going to bring the mood so far down.
Yes, do it. Rock us
apologize
down.
for that.
Let's do
But,
roller coaster. We're
I'm going to
ready.
read from just the very beginning, so no need to set up of my novel, Lone Women.
Oh, yeah.
There are 2 kinds of people in this world. Those who live with shame and those who die from it. On Tuesday, Adelaide Henry would have called herself the former, but by Wednesday, she wasn't as sure. If she was trying to live, then why would she be walking through her family's farmhouse, carrying an Atlas jar of gasoline, pouring that gasoline on the kitchen floor, the dining table, dousing the settee in the den? And after she emptied the first Atlas jar, why go back to the kitchen for the other jar, then climb the stairs to the second floor, listening to the splash of gasoline on every step? Was she planning to live or trying to die? There were 27 Black farming families in California's Lucerne Valley in 1915. Adelaide and her parents had been one of them. After today, there would be only 26. Adelaide reached the second floor landing. She hardly smelled the gasoline anymore. Her hands were covered in fresh wounds, but she felt no pain. There were 2 bedrooms on the second floor, her bedroom and her parents'. Adelaide's parents were lured west by the promise of land in this valley. The federal government encouraged Americans to homestead California. The native population had been decimated, cleared off the property. Now it was time to give it all away. This invitation was one of the few that the United States extended to even its Negro citizens. And after 1866, the African Society put out a call to colonize Southern California. The Henrys were among the hundreds who came. They weren't going to get a fair shot in Arkansas, that was for damn sure. The federal government called this homesteading. Glenville and Eleanor Henry fled to California and grew alfalfa and wild grass, sold it to cattle owners for feed. Glenville studied the work of Luther Burbank, and in 1908, they began growing the botanist Santa Rosa plums. To Adelaide, the fruit tasted of sugar and self-determination. Adelaide had worked the orchards and fields alongside her daddy since she was 12, labored in the kitchen and the barn with her mother for even longer. 31 years of life on this farm, 31. And now she would burn it all down. Stop.
All right. All right.
She's going to burn it all down. No!
It's
Thank you. That
opening.
was awesome. I love how there's so much history in there. How did homesteading come about? Like the word, is it home instead, or how did it?
Well, the idea was that you're supposed to live on that land for 3 years, truthfully, it's like 5 months out of every year for 3 years, because some of the territories were so barren that they didn't expect people to stay there in the winters. You had to grow a certain amount of food on that land, on that plot of land in those 3 years, to prove that you had been there and that you were steadying the land, kind of thing. And then after 3 years, if you did that, the land became yours, and it's called proving up, and it was now your land to pass down to work
You
on.
did so much research for this book.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Okay, but I want to talk about the Devil in Silver is the one that's getting made, right?
It's done. Yeah.
It's done. Is it coming? When is it coming out?
Hopefully late August or sometime in September.
Nice. Is
Which
it
platform?
Apple TV also? Yeah.
No, that's on AMC.
AMC. Okay, very cool. But your first one was on Apple TV.
Was on Apple. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a totally different process. So you're going to be able to tell us the difference between getting a book bought by Apple TV and getting a book bought by AMC.
Sure, I can tell you. I mean, I can't tell you
Tell
anything
us
about film,
now.
but I can tell you about TV.
Yes.
One of them has a lot more money. That's the big difference.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
So did you shop it around, or did they come to you?
Oh no,
Both of them,
they
each of them.
certainly didn't come to me. No, people.
They're not be like, oh my God, I love this book. I want to make it into a movie. That's what, like, that's the
No.
fantasy, right?
A producer shopped it around, and they were the ones who were interested in each case. That's the process. I think.
And
I
in
mean, I'm sure they
each-
chased some things, but they didn't chase mine.
In each case, did they know that they wanted it to be a series versus a film?
Well, I think neither one of them. Well, I guess Apple makes films, but AMC, it's only TV.
American Movie Classics doesn't make films.
I mean, I guess not. They have movie theaters, but
Yeah.
yeah. So it was always, in both cases, for TV.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And how much input did you have on either one?
Well, I was the one of the showrunners for the Devil in Silver, so I
Crazy.
put on that one.
Oh, we are going to want to know all about that for sure. Okay, next reader. This is very exciting.
thank you, Victor.
Yep.
Our next reader is Helen Wan. She's a novelist, professor, and media lawyer. Her debut novel, The Partner Track, was a book club selection of Real Simple magazine, the National Association of Women Lawyers, and the subject of a Washington Post magazine cover story on Asian Americans, famous Asian Americans in the legal profession. Helen's novel is also the basis for the original TV series Partner Track, which is now streaming on Netflix. The book has been translated into 5 languages, is taught in colleges and law schools, and is used by many organizations in initiatives to advance equity and inclusivity in the workplace and academia. A graduate of Amherst College and the University of Virginia School of Law, Helen practiced media law at law firms and as an in-house counsel at media companies including Time Inc., A&E Television Networks, and Hachette Book Group USA, where she was VP and Associate General Counsel before becoming a writer. Helen currently teaches a media and publishing law course at NYU. She serves on the board of trustees of the Vermont Studio Center and the board of advisors of New York Women's Bar Association Foundation. After many years in Brooklyn, she now lives in the wilds of New Jersey with her lovely family. Everyone, please welcome Helen Wan.
Yay!
Thank you, everyone. It's really an honor and pleasure to be here tonight. And both Victor and Jessica are tough acts to follow, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to read a short snippet from The Partner Track, which came out quite a while ago, and it began. The journey has been very long, but the book, which is decidedly a novel, began as my subway scribblings, on my way to and from work. To my first.
You're like a Toni Morrison person. Oh my God. Writing on the subway. I wrote my whole book on the subway.
Yeah. Amazingly wrote in the morning and produced all that great work in the morning before work. And so I was a weekend warrior and wrote before and after work, commuting to and from my legal job. So anyway, and I think the only setup or the only thing that you need to know for this particular snippet that I'm going to read is that this takes place at Ingrid, who is my protagonist, her law firm's New York summer outing, which takes place at Westchester Country Club. And she's she is a senior associate, expected to make partner, but she has been very, very successful at covering passing at this law firm in a very rarefied corporate culture, which she did not grow up with at all, and is completely, kind of foreign to her. Okay. The scene by the pool was in full swing by the time I got there. No one was swimming, but a line had formed at the open bar. Coolers packed with ice, Perrier, Gatorade, and bottled beer were positioned at intervals across the spotless pool deck. I did what I always did, grabbed a club soda with a wedge of lime, and then stretched out on a green and white striped lounge chair, crossing my ankles demurely, pasting a smile onto my face, and trying to look like I was having a fantastic time. The sun reflected off the glittering surface of the pool like tiny gemstones, and it felt good on my face and shoulders. I leaned back, closed my eyes, trying to relax a little. Before long, I heard loud splashes and some high-pitched giggling. I opened my eyes. It was the same group of chatty summer associates that had been on the bus. Two of the guys had cannonballed into the deep end of the pool, and a third was making a beeline for the open bar. The rest of the group were picking out deck chairs and sliding them out of the shade, arranging them in a sprawling semicircle just a few yards from me. I put my sunglasses on so I could spy on them more easily. I was curious and more than a little nostalgic. There had been 95 of us in my class when we had first started out at the firm, and over a third of us had been women. Now, 8 years later, though, in corporate M&A, it was just me, Murph, Hunter, Tyler, and a handful of other guys left standing. I was still friends with a lot of the women who had left Parsons Valentine over the years, and I knew that most of them rooted for me. Every holiday season, I would receive an enthusiastic chorus of messages from them. Keep up the good fight. Looking forward to toasting to the firm's first female corporate partner. Go, Ingrid, go. These messages usually came scrawled on the back of a holiday photo card featuring some impossibly cute 2-year-old in a reindeer outfit, or one of my former classmates and their husband, both wearing elf hats and hugging an affable-looking Labrador retriever. So as I watched this latest group of summer associates who were shrieking and splashing around in the pool, I thought about how much I missed that old camaraderie, that freedom that I felt when I had been nowhere near up for partner, and that blissful safety in numbers. It was just so much harder to blend in where there was only one of you left. The one called Steinberg was back now with a large tropical drink served in a hollowed out pineapple. Hey, he yelled to one of the girls. Why aren't you in the pool yet? This particular girl, the prettiest in the group, was a tall, willowy blonde with high cheekbones, fair skin, and a faint spray of freckles across the bridge of her nose. Her hair was swept back into an unfussy bun and secured with a tiny tortoiseshell pin. She was wearing a chic black cover-up, and the white spaghetti straps of a swimsuit top were clearly visible, knotted together behind her neck. I knew her name. She was Cameron Alexander. And I knew this because Murph and Hunter had pointed her out many times in the summer associate directory, which was also known among the male attorneys at the firm as the menu. Cameron had gone to Exeter and was a double Harvard, both college and law school, and according to her short firm bio, had done modeling in her spare time. Runway, not catalog. Rumor had it she was also dating the son of a client, the manager of an exclusive New York hedge fund that our firm represented. Come on, Cameron, said the one called Steinberg. You said you'd be going in. I don't see anyone stopping you from swimming, Jason, Cameron said with a toss of her head. Why does it always have to be follow the leader with you? This seemed to shut Steinberg up for a moment, and the other men in his group snickered. Good for you, Cameron, I thought. Okay, I'm gonna skip around just for time purposes here. I took in a long, deep breath and stretched out my arms and legs as far as they would reach, feeling the pleasant pull in each muscle, the sheer joy of being young and appreciated and good at what you did. I draped one arm lazily above my head and closed my eyes, luxuriating in the warmth of the sun and the day off. My eyes were still closed when suddenly I thought, it's really quiet. It's too quiet. A reverent hush had fallen over the pool deck, and when I opened my eyes, I saw why. Cameron Alexander had peeled off her cover-up and was now sauntering toward the shallow end of the pool, wearing only her white string bikini. She moved with an unhurried grace, as if she were aware of so many eyes upon her, and she really didn't mind. Steinberg was obediently loping along behind, still clasping his ridiculous pineapple beverage. He looked like a kid on Christmas morning. For women lawyers at a firm outing, the swimsuit costume presents a conundrum. Just what does a young career woman wear to what was essentially a pool party thrown by your legal employer? On the one hand, let's be honest, law firms value good looks and sex appeal just as much as anybody. So if you were an attractive young woman, you didn't want to be the class prude huddled poolside in a parka. On the other hand, showing too much skin isn't a good idea either. Not if you ever expected to be taken seriously. I watched the male attorneys online at the bar surreptitiously smirk and nudge one another. People pretended to return to their momentarily abandoned conversations, but continued to stare in Cameron Alexander's direction. And unflustered, Cameron stood alone at the water's edge. She raised one perfect Pilates-toned leg and dipped a pointed toe into the water. Still too cold, she announced, loud enough for all to hear. I think I'll wait a bit. Steinberg didn't seem disappointed to hear this. His objective had been met. Fine with me, he said, shaking his empty pineapple drink at her. I'm out. Let's go get something else to drink. Cameron shrugged and walked with him to the back of the bar line, where they were joined suddenly by two male partners who were suddenly very, very interested in striking up a conversation with these summer interns. Before long, Cameron and Steinberg's group of friends had joined them too, forming a large gaggle in front of the open bar. All of the summers were trying to schmooze all of the partners, but none succeeded like Cameron Alexander. She looked queenly, wearing a beneficent smile and occasionally tossing her head back with laughter, as if it were just the most natural thing in the world to be standing around barefoot with the corporate tax partners, chatting animatedly about the latest summer action flick, all the while wearing a white string bikini and gesturing with her mojito for emphasis. I was, if I'm being honest, jealous. Of course I was, but not of the way Cameron Alexander looked in a white string bikini. Instead, I was jealous of her confidence and her utter unself-consciousness. What must it be like, I marveled, to go through life so utterly unwary, so wholly certain of yourself and your belonging to a place that it was never necessary to consider how your next move would be perceived. Making partner at Parsons, Valentine, and Hunt felt like a big final exam to which a select few already had the answer key, while the rest of us schmucks had to study.
So
Very
why don't I
fun.
remember this in the series?
And
Is
no,
this
actually,
in the
to my
series?
it was they made a whole episode of this firm outing chapter, which was called episode 5 or something, 4 or 5, and it was called Out of Office, and that one was my favorite episode of the whole season, actually.
Oh, so was there?
So
Okay, I'm gonna have to
yeah.
go back.
It was episode 4 or 5,
So
but they really they really did focus the whole episode on this and its themes of the everything that happened at those firm outings. So,
how engaged were you in the creation of the TV show?
so I was a consulting
Of
producer. but I was not in the writer's room. But it was fascinating. It was a really, really interesting thing to get to see, just how the sausage is made and the changes.
Can you tell us a little bit of something that was surprising to you as the producer, like as being in the room?
I had been warned by a lot of fellow writer friends who have also been fortunate enough to see, one of their babies adapted for the screen, that, hey, you got to kind of harden your heart a little bit, because they're going to make editorial changes, creative changes to the story. They're going to add, characters and story elements that were never in your book, and and they did, and that was true. But I was pleasantly surprised by how thoughtfully they did actually involve me in advance to let me know that, hey, look, we're going to make a creative change X, Y, Z, and here's why.
Oh,
So,
and they always explained it to you, and you
I guess
liked
that
it?
was the most surprising thing. Yeah.
Nice. That's
I
very
mean,
cool.
Yeah. I mean, now, did I have any?
And is that, can I
creative
ask this, is
approval?
it part of your contract to be like, did your agent have to fight to let you be engaged, or was that just, is
It
that
wasn't
just the way it works? Like you just, that's what you
no.
wanted?
I mean, and to be clear, I certainly, had no, as a first-time novelist for whom this was happening, I certainly had no overall creative, approvals.
Did you have
over it.
veto
And-
power or something where you could be like, absolutely not, this is totally horrible?
and not contractually.
Did you have a
do
moment?
you think
Was
it
there a
helped?
moment?
I had something, CAA, they were awesome, and they negotiated some, the artful language, like which I actually have negotiated into my own clients' contracts sometimes, with just a meaningful consultation rights in advance over any significant, very.
Did you have
creative-
to do it though? Like, did you personally have to do that at all ever in the thing? Was there ever a thing where you're like, there should not be palm trees here? And
That's a great question. Actually, I love that question. In my particular case, no. In my particular instance,
they
no.
explained it to you well enough. They presented it well enough that you were like, okay,
I could
And it
totally
was-
understand the why that was happening.
cool.
Do
All right.
you think it
Well,
helped to be a lawyer through this whole process?
Oh, interesting.
I'm going to come back and ask everyone else
Yeah,
later.
probably at least, not just at the contract stage, but also just kind of understanding from having been in-house at a media company, just having, I guess, that more, pragmatic business world.
the part
kind of-
that isn't personal is like business.
and that to not take anything personally in this business, and just to understand that hey, here's the thought process behind XYZ, and
Cool.
just try to come to the table
right.
together, so yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Wonderful.
Let's hear from Trey.
Thank you.
This is cool. Thank you.
Our
Thank you, Helen.
final
We'll be
reader
back.
tonight is Trey Ellis. As I said, he's got a huge, beautiful introduction. He's an American Book Award-winning novelist, 2-time Emmy and Peabody-winning filmmaker, NAACP Image Award-winning playwright, essayist, professor, and he's the author of Bedtime Stories, Adventures in the Land of Single Fatherhood. He's a single father. His acclaimed first novel, Platitudes, was reissued by Northeastern University Press, along with his influential essay, The New Black Aesthetic. He's also the author of Home Repairs and Right Here, Right Now. His screenplay, Holy Mackerel, is one of the highest ever rated on Franklin Leonard's Blacklist.com. He's currently developing this project as a limited series for the FX network with Shaka King and starring Samuel L. Jackson. Yay, can't wait. His other work for the screen includes the Peabody-winning and Emmy-nominated Tuskegee Airmen and Good Fences, starring Danny Glover and Whoopi Goldberg, which was shortlisted for the Pen Award for Best Teleplay of the Year. His works have been screened at the Museum of Modern Art and the Brooklyn Academy of Music. His essays have appeared in The New Yorker, The New York Times, The Washington Post, The Los Angeles Times, GQ, Vanity Fair. He has contributed audio commentary to NPR's All Things Considered. His play Fly was commissioned by the Lincoln Center Institute and continues to be performed around the country, including in Washington, D.C., in D.C.'s Ford's Theater and Pasadena Playhouse and the New Victory Theater in New York. He's currently in rehearsals for a musical on the life of Dorothy Dandridge, for which he wrote the book and is co-writer of the lyrics. A night of music from the musical was performed at Carnegie Hall. Most recently, he is a writer and consulting producer on Costiera, a TV comedy action series for Amazon starring Jesse Williams. Everyone, please welcome this amazing author, Trey Ellis. Thank you for being here. Woo!
Thank you guys so much. I think my wife is not on because she would be really mad about me saying that I'm a single dad still, because I've been married for a while. But Bedtime Stories was about being a single dad, and it ends with, I wrote it right before we kind of overlapped. I started dating her when I finished the book, but we've been together for like 17 years now. So
Oh, wow.
so we've raised, and we've got now a 7-year-old that we adopted 7 years ago when she was born. So
Nice.
I have a whole new, in terms of Pen Parentis, I'm starting all over again.
Fun.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read a little differently from you guys. I'm going to read just a short piece of a new book that I'm writing, because as we
Yeah,
start,
I'd love that.
I spent a lot of time writing screenplays and teleplays and plays and other things. But obviously, not obviously, but novels are my first love. I've been working on this new book, which is a piece of autofiction about a character similar to myself, because it's autofiction, who, like me, who goes across country on a bus trip in 1978 and starts the bus trip as wanting to be a physicist and ends the trip deciding to be a novelist because he runs into this black beatnik named Ted Jones. And I'll start right now. Chapter 1. In 1979, the summer after my mother shot herself in the heart, I convinced my dad to let me ride a Greyhound bus from New York's Port Authority bus terminal to Los Angeles, then north to San Francisco and back. I was about to be a senior at Andover, planning on a career in theoretical physics, and the pretext I gave my father for a solo, unsupervised 10-day trip across country and back was a college visit to Stanford. He obviously understood that I had other reasons to wander. For $99, Greyhound was offering a 2-week Ameripass to wherever they traveled on their just-released AmeriCruiser 2s, trumpeted as the world's most advanced motor coaches. Thinking back on it now, I see it was my first grand adventure. The first time I ever thought to myself that the river of my dreams and expectations had merged with the lazy, everyday current that was usually pushing me downstream. Actually, I was romanticizing even as it was happening. My friend Ben's dad was a Yale professor and master of Davenport College, one of Yale's residential colleges, each one looking like a walled medieval village. They call them head of college now because of the whole master-slave versus master-apprentice thing. The residence is an urban mansion within the college's walls, and to my mind, the most luxurious private home I'd ever entered. I'm sure many ambassadors have worse digs. The only hitch was the only movie theater within walking distance was the York Square Art House, so we'd watch whatever they were playing in whatever language. We were pretentious faculty brats, and our adolescent presence in this art house, to our minds, was further proof of our precocity. No one seemed to care we were 14 and then 15 and 16, and the movies were almost always rated R. I remember Midnight Cowboy was playing in revival, and the first gradual and then sudden souring of Joe Buck's dreams of grandeur in New York City touched me in ways I couldn't immediately process. But it was that last scene, Joe Buck, John Voight, on the bus to Florida with Ratso Rizzo, Dustin Hoffman, dead but peaceful in the seat next to him as Miami palm trees reflect in the bus window, that knocked me off my axis. I think I might have decided before we left the theater that Ben and I would take a bus across country and somehow be forever changed. The night before, I was packing and unpacking my orange aluminum frame backpack, I don't know how many times, and prattling on to my patient dad about all the places I just had to visit in Southern California before heading north to Northern California and the Stanford tour we'd signed up for, when I called Ben to make sure he wasn't forgetting anything. About that, said Ben, I actually haven't asked my mom yet.
That's so 1970s.
Funny, Ben, quit fucking around. I can ask her now, but we both know what she's going to say. If you weren't back there in New Haven where we'd grown up and not in New York where my dad moved us after my mom died, I'd have run over to his place and thrown a rock through his window. My bus was leaving the Port Authority bus terminal at 8 the next morning. I hung up and tiptoed into my dad's room. Hey, Dad? An act of madness on his part. Not only letting a 16-year-old get on a 3-day cross-country bus by himself in pre-cell phone America, but get on the bus in the Port Authority bus terminal in 1979. A quick procrastination to Wikipedia informs me that the PABT is the busiest bus terminal in the world. 8,000 buses, 225,000 people a day, 65 million a year. In 1979, the bus station was host to 2,800 crimes, about 7.7 every day. Taxi Driver had come out 2 years earlier, and it's pretty much a documentary of what Times Square and the nearby bus station were like back then. Every hour, dozens of rubes like Joe Buck and Jodie Foster's Iris descended from their buses right into the warm, waiting arms of grinning pimps. I'd moved to the city from Connecticut less than a year ago and had the street smarts of Tinkerbell. I mean, my dad could have never seen me again, or see me again 3 years later wearing hot pants and a fishnet stack of stockings by the side of the West Side Highway. Trey, son, is that you? Not that my dad ever trolled the West Side Highway. I know because when he finally did come out to me 6 years later, you couldn't shut him up about how, when, and where he liked to pick up or be picked up. How did he know that I'd be all right? Promised to call him every night from a rest stop. On the other end, in Rancho Palos Verdes, south of LA, our family friends would be waiting for me, another Black doctor whose wife had also killed herself, leaving him to raise their kids. I remember jogging out of the one train with my big orange backpack and its aluminum exoskeleton, whinging with every step. Inside the Port Authority, I knew enough not to ask anyone anything and finally did find the bus with what I was looking for stamped on its forehead. Los Angeles. Whoa. I couldn't have been more excited had it said Titan and Jupiter's lesser moons. The bus driver was a Black man about my dad's age, except this guy's mustache continued around to encircle his mouth in exquisite outline. He stood guard over the bags as we slid into his bus's belly and sized each other up, every one of us with a subtextual, "Are you the one that's going to make me call the cops?" There's always one of you, thought the bus driver. And I'll stop there.
Yay.
Oh my God, that's so great. How did you come up with this idea?
I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I began writing novels, and then to me it's interesting because I started, briefly like in college at my humor magazine at Stanford. I thought I'd be a writer for SNL, and then thought, and that didn't happen. I didn't get those jobs, so I went to Italy and wrote Platitudes, my first book. When I came back, I still was writing screenplays and books going back and forth. When I wrote bedtime stories years later, that's creative nonfiction. And then for this one, I thought I'm a big fan of Karl Ove Knausgaard, and I thought I love the idea of autofiction. I love just it's based on a lot of stuff that happened in real life, but I like inventing the past, and that's how I came up with it.
Your book that became Inkwell, can you describe the process by which the journey by which it turned into the film?
Well, so that's interesting. So it wasn't explicit. I was always writing, like even while I was writing books and movies at the same time, either in New York or when I moved to LA to be more of a full-time screenwriter. I was also writing books at the same time. So Home Repairs, my second book, I wrote wholly there in Los Angeles, and Right Here, Right Now, that was my second book. Sorry, Right Here, my second, and then Home Repairs. I wrote them both while I was living in LA. So I'd go back and forth, and then I had this part of Platitudes and this idea of being in Martha's Vineyard as a kid in the 70s. So it's a little bit like sort of a spin-off, a little bit of Platitudes. So it's not quite an adaptation, it's more of a spin-off. So it became this, I thought it was, and I still think it's a world, it's a subculture of the Black bourgeoisie in Martha's Vineyard that people didn't really know about back then. And I thought I'd create this piece.
What I love about it, Dorothy West wrote a lot about Martha's Vineyard, but it's so different. It's just so different, and it really blew my mind because it was so fun, and it showed like what life was like for young people, and it just blew like everyone's like stereotypes out the window, and it just was just so fun. It made me as a viewer and reader wish I could be there. It was just incredible. I loved it. Really loved it.
Do you feel like you're tapping into a different part of yourself when you're writing screenplays versus stage plays?
It was funny because I stayed away from stage plays for a long time, but I'd written a movie about the Tuskegee Airmen, and then maybe 15 years ago, a friend's brother was going to direct a play about them, and he said, "Hey, do you know anyone who could write a play?" And I said, "About them." I said, "Well, let me try." He said, "Oh, I'll give it a." So I just sort of volunteered to give it a stab. But I'd read a lot of plays as a kid, but I'd never written one. And and screenplays are such the opposite, because so much of it is there's so much in the stage direction, and it's like thinking in pictures, as John Sayles said, while the plays are really just words, and they enter, exit in words. And in screenplays, you don't usually have people soliloquizing, right? They're just, "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm fine." It's usually very naturalistic dialogue, and the theater in general has more elevated dialogue. So I really like that. I like the challenge of that. And I didn't write my first play till I was maybe 50, coming to New York.
Oh, wow.
And now I've written a bunch, and I really like it.
Yeah, you're very well known for the plays, so that's kind of interesting.
Well, what I'd say about plays, which you guys will appreciate, is that coming from the screenwriting, where you have famously from Fitzgerald, you have no one cares about the screenwriter, and they change things without consulting you. The first read through on the table read of the play, the director says, like, could this be an and instead of a but? And they're all waiting for me to say, yeah. Like, what? You're asking me? I didn't know who they were talking to. I just like, it's crazy.
That's awesome. Let's bring everybody back to the table, and we will ask our audience to ask us questions, and we will also ask our own questions. I have a burning question. I have a
burning question too, and
right?
it's the same one.
So I am dying to know whether having your book turned into a movie, or working on a movie, whether that changed your next book. Like, did you feel it affected your writing to have seen what happens to your prose on stage? Jessica.
Well, I mean, all my books have been optioned, but none has actually appeared on a screen. So I can't, so no, I've never changed my prose according to the fact that they were optioned or not optioned. And I did write a screenplay that was turned into a movie, but that was never a book. So
wait. I don't know who's watching out there, because nobody's writing in and saying who they are. So can you just tell everybody, just define option and like what that is like, in case people out there are just like, I don't know, I'm scared to talk.
Yeah. So before Mary, and I also have ghostwritten a few books, and those have been optioned too. But so option is when a producer comes and they approach you, and they, or maybe more than one, and they want to buy it to make into a movie, and they make lots of big, huge promises, and they give you a sum of option, and then you sit around and dream a lot, and then nothing happens. That's an
How do you have is it have a timeline? Like, are you supposed to get an end time on this?
You get, it's like 18 months, and then maybe another 18 months, and they get renewed, and then
so they pay you more money each time they want it again.
Each time they want it again. And with Mary Jane, it was because, and I had written another screenplay. It was the first time where I was like, you know what, because I'd seen also some of the screenplays that were written from my books that were optioned, and they might have been brilliant for other people, because I don't want to. It's so hard. I don't want to say anything terrible about anyone, but they didn't please me.
Right.
So with Mary Jane, I was like, I would like to write that screenplay. And that was very gratifying. But I feel like everybody else who's seen everything on screen could answer that better. Also, I just want to say, when you read Trey's bio, I just thought, I have got to get off my ass and work harder.
That's all we do here. We make people get off their ass and work harder. That's a secret mission.
So I feel like I should just black out my screen and walk away. How much I got done.
I'm 62 years old. I mean, I lived a long life.
I'm impressed and embarrassed to be sitting here as well.
No. So. Don't say that. No, we are all on our journey wherever we are. It's all
but
good.
I'll bet you anything that there are a lot of people watching who are thinking like, how did you get that dream? Like I feel like a total loser sitting here. I only have this book, and how'd you do that? And that's why they're here. They're like looking at you guys.
We got you
inspired, and you guys.
And you have all the time in the world. 62 is nothing. He's gonna write another 50 books before you.
And
run off and grab all the
and musicals.
I'm running behind him now. I want to catch up. That's my goal.
As your resume gets longer, you just feel like, oh, maybe I should take out that stuff from like 1979.
Yeah.
Cut out that stuff.
That's super cool. All right, Victor, did it change your writing to have that, to watch Changeling?
Well, the thing that it did help me with was seeing. So for Changeling, someone else, there was a showrunner, and she wrote all 8 episodes. And
okay, wait, we need to define showrunner. We're gonna be like defining all these
So
words.
the showrunner just literally means the person who runs the show, meaning they hire everybody. They are the creative force who gets that thing from a book, from an optioned book, to a screenplay, to a studio who says we'll buy it, and then they're kind of like the top manager.
So they're above the director and the actors.
Yes, from the in TV,
but they're not the producer. They're not giving the money. They're not
giving the money, but they are. So this is just in TV. In film, the director is the person who has all the say. Well, the studio is who has all the say, and then the director. In TV, the showrunner or creator is usually the person who will have more say than anyone but studio. Maybe the producer.
And you learned, and from the showrunner, you learned.
What I saw from what was very helpful, seeing her adapt my book to screenplay, was that I saw sometimes you don't need that many words to do a thing. And one of the pleasures was sometimes you could shut up. Like you could say less and you can get the same thing across. Maybe sometimes something even better than what you were doing with like a half a page. She would sometimes have 1 or 2 lines and get across the same idea with an image or a movement or whatever. And I learned from that very much, not in an effort to make a book sound like a screenplay, but to just be even more thoughtful and economical with the program.
And you were the showrunner for Devil and Silver.
And so I was the showrunner for that. So I wrote
how was that?
3 of those episodes. And so that was a different thing. Then I had to be more, I had to do that job too.
Did you were like, nope, shut up. Yeah, everybody shut up.
It was, no words.
It was very nice to by her example, to learn how to do it and then to be ruthless about it for myself, because it was still getting across the story.
That's great. Victor, I once interviewed Lee Young Lee, the poet, and
yes.
he said something like, "Damn those novelists, they use too many words.
The poets are the best.
Less words.
The poets are the best at it."
That's amazing. That's really funny. Oh my gosh, we have so many questions. Okay, wait. Quick question from Amy Gretsch. Do you guys all use final drafts for screenplays? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I do.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? Helen, do you write screenplays? No.
No, so I don't tend to use like a final draft anyway, but yes.
And you're working on another novel, right, Helen? Are you working on a second novel?
I am, yes.
Did it change you to watch your show go? Did it change your writing?
No, I really don't think so.
You're just writing, you block it out, you're just writing a book. It's a book.
Right.
And Trey, you're in every possible genre. So you're just like, I think I'll write an opera. Have you written an opera? Yes.
What's interesting, because since I started, my first love was writing the TV. Then when I wrote my Platitudes, my first book, I really wanted to be like, it's got a, I didn't want it to be filmed. That's my whole. I just wanted it to be an anti, like it's got footnotes. It's got like.
It's one of those 90s books with all
it's got all sorts of, it's totally
ephemera. We love it.
And it's even got like it's got a 10-page like little cliches written screenplay inside it, embedded in it.
Awesome.
So part of it is like, screw it. Then when I wrote the books after that, and then when my second book, when it got optioned, I did realize, oh wait, not only would I get like my little paltry advance for my book, when it was optioned, it was like a whole nother level of money. So so even if I wrote the books to not get optioned, when someone would come back and say, hey, would you like to make a movie? I'd say, absolutely, I'll make a movie out of the book, even though I wrote it, like making it sort of impossible. Like I started off making it impossible to adapt.
I love it that nothing is impossible. Okay, what advice do y'all have, What advice do y'all have about writing I'm reading. I'm just going to show you what she said. What advice do y'all have about writing adaptations as opposed to books or spec scripts? Wait, there's a follow-up. And what do you see as the biggest challenges of adapting novels into features and TV series? Let's start with Helen because she was first. Now we're switching it around.
I'll answer the second question. What are the biggest challenges to seeing these adaptations? I think at least from my perspective as the novelist, I had to learn really quickly just to kind of let go. Let go. I knew obviously from the book deal stage and then the option stage, etc. It was just, I wrote the first draft of what became eventually the novel pretty quickly, and then only 12 to 13 years later it got published. So I learned quite quickly that, hey, there's never going to be perfect circumstances. I used to be the kind of person who I'm not going to generate good pages until everything is perfect in my little writing environment, and then I'm going to produce really great work. No. I just had to learn to let go and and kind of go with the flow a little bit. I'm a lawyer, so it's not naturally easy to me to do. So I had to learn to go with the flow a little bit and just hey, take things as they come. My agent and both were shopping these rights during COVID. Right? So during pandemic time, so there were a lot of heartbreaks. Where something looked like it was going to happen, didn't happen. Stop and start, stop and go. Right, and then finally, all it takes is that one amazing phone call where my agent called and he said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" And I was like, "Okay, I can be. Yes." Go ahead.
That's awesome.
And he said, "I think this time it's for real. I think this time it's really gonna get greenlit. I think this time it's really gonna be made, and I think Netflix is gonna do it." And I was like, "Oh my God," And then who is this? Who is this? What have you done with my,
Yeah.
So anyway, just the biggest challenge for me, it was just learning to let go, realize that not everything's going to be, fall into play. All the stars have to align just so. But when they do, they do. So I feel very grateful for that.
Nice. Christina, you, I know, have burning questions as well.
Well, yeah. So I have several. My first is how you always hear about authors who are not happy about something that like the way something worked out in the film or the series or whatever. And I the two people I'm thinking about now, like Rick Moody, he was really happy with the way they did Ice Storm. Michael Cunningham was really happy with Nicole Kidman. What were things that made you happy or not happy?
Yeah, we want to know what were like moments in your books that were just like, what? That's awesome. Let's have it. That's awesome. It was awesome to see.
Victor?
I'll say, so in The Changeling, there's a scene where it's a story about a married couple who fall in love in a sort of fairy tale-ish way in New York City. And the wife, he gets the wife pregnant, and things will go very badly as the season goes on. But she gives birth to their son on the A train when it's stuck between 59th and 125th in the long tunnel there. And one of my great joys was we got to shoot it in New York, in Brooklyn, in a real subway train.
Yes.
And the added touch that was so nice was in the middle of her going into labor, the Showtime boys show up on the train.
Oh, yes.
And we actually got a crew
Showtime
of like 5 Showtime kids or Showtime men, really, to show up and start dancing.
Yeah.
Birth. And it was just very fun to
Were they the real Showtime guys, or were
they were
actors playing Showtime
had
guys?
who had a background in dance, so they could do it. They were a little older. I mean, the Showtime kids are usually like 15, 16, 17. These guys, I'd say, were
fearless.
26 or 30 or something like that. But it was very fun just to see that sort of put on screen, and to sit there and watch them film it was very sweet.
That's such a part of the New York experience.
Yeah, I felt like I was glad that we got to document that in a way.
It's an incredible scene in the show, in the book and in the show too. It's super well done. It's really well
Thanks. Yeah, I thought they did a really wonderful job with that.
Do you have any moments, Trey?
Well, it's funny the book that I did adapt. My first wife, Erica, she wrote a book about called Good Fences. That it's funny. Where I was writing a movie someplace, she just took the laptop, went off, and kept sort of doodling, writing, and then she sold it. She got a $100,000 advance as soon as she turned it in, and I was
love that book. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then I adapted it for Spike Lee's company, and that's the one that Whoopi Goldberg and Danny Glover did for Showtime. And so it was funny to adapt her book, which is she wrote a book a little bit based on my growing up in Connecticut. And so she used the main characters are sort of based on my parents. It was just really interesting that adapting that. And then the filming of that, we filmed it in Canada, to Montreal, to sort of see, Whoopi Goldberg playing somebody sort of like my mom, in these scenes with these, in this all white sort of bedroom community in Connecticut it was surreal. It was amazing.
Crazy.
Can I ask a question? Did you mind that your wife took part of your life and wrote a book about it that she then sold for $100,000?
No, I mean, we were living together at the same time. It's just community property, so it's like I got half of that.
That's so lovely.
It's because her father was a conservative lawyer, and that's what the Danny Glover guy is, a sort of Black Republican lawyer guy. So it was a mix of our lives together in a way that, and I was she wrote the whole book, but I read many drafts of it, and I was just super proud of her for doing it. It was great.
Nice.
May I also ask this panel a question, which is, what were your thoughts on the whole, or how involved, or how did you not want to be involved in the whole casting process? Were there any surprises during that whole casting journey?
I mean, the people I've been working with at Sony have been so great, and including me and everything. It's been very fun. Mm-hmm. So, ongoing.
Wonderful.
I would say for the second thing, the Devil in Silver show that I was helping to run, I did get to go in on the we was part of the part of making all the choices, and maybe one of the most fun things was there's one or two people who are not what I was picturing, and but they were just so good. Nice. And that they kind of made it was almost like the energy is the right energy for that character. Right, even though they weren't what I wrote, that's the right person. And then the fun was then going back and sort of rewriting
to suit them more,
to suit them a little better, to suit that energy a little better. That was pretty fun to see, how an actor could almost teach you were wrong.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool.
I wasn't too involved in the Good Fences one, and but it's talking about the creative control. I would just say to everybody out there, if you have a book and you do get optioned, you have a lot of choices. I forget the name of the guy who did The Perks of Being a Wallflower, right? But he decided, it's my book. I'm going to write the screenplay. I'm going to direct the movie. You might take less money, but you have all the power. If you really want to move there, it's your IP, as I like to say. It's they want your thing. So if you don't want to, the money, and again, the money's an option. So once it runs out, then it comes back to you. You can do whatever you want with it. So you have more power than you think.
So Trey, I think that brings up a really good point. I think some authors have this idea that they write a book and someone will come knocking on their door and be like, we want your book. We're going to turn it into a movie. And then they're like, no one's knocking on my door. Right. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah, I'd say it works both ways. If it's a bestseller or even a moderate hit of any kind of way, someone will be talking to you. But that's rare, right? So I think otherwise you've got to do the work yourself and agent yourself and look to what production companies, what actor might be interested, what all these, because they're all looking for something. Even I've had friends with books that were not published. They were actually rejected from all the different places. We've written other books, but that book happened to be rejected. Then they reached out and said, I've got this book. They reached out to, in this case, Netflix, and showed it to them, and they decided to like make the movie, and now it's going to be a book. Now he's going to get a book deal out of it, working backwards.
That's so interesting.
You put all that work in making that book, you might have to still do the work yourself. You might have to agent it yourself for a while until it sort of, it's like pushing a car with like, the engine hasn't started yet. You might have to start.
Run it down the hill. Are all of your, put it in neutral and then push really fast. Are all of your, I'm old. So are all of your agents, do you have a separate film agent from your, like a person who brings your thing to the movies, or do you have your, like, is it just the one agent that does all of the turning it in?
Yeah, I mean, CAA, you have your literary agent and your Hollywood agent, and you have a movie agent and TV agent. So it's all, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has the same thing.
You guys all have 4 agents. Literary. What was it? Literary,
TV, movie.
Oh, TV and movie is different.
I mean, they're the TV movie are same agency. It's all CAA, but
that's cool. Wild. Okay. I have one question that is a very Pen Parentis question, and that is, have your kids seen your movies, and what happened?
Well, I'll just when Partner Track came out on Netflix, which involves, I mean, it's not really a kid's novel.
It is not.
And so he was not initially allowed.
Cover your eyes.
How old was he?
He was 10. He was 10 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He was allowed to watch the trailer and everything, and he went to the premiere and everything, but he was not allowed to watch it. But then he came home from school one time and said, "Hey, my friends in class are allowed to watch it." So, so then we went, like the PG-13, we recommend watching with parental supervision.
Yeah.
So that's what we ended up doing.
Did you end up having to discuss things with your kid that you did not want to because of that, or a little earlier than you would have liked?
Mainly kind of like foul language, which, come on.
Yes, Mom wrote
like,
this.
Mom, was that you? That was you?
So, there's a lot of, because that's how lawyers talk. That is how lawyers talk at those firms. So authenticity, right? And also there were additional love interest relationships written in that were not in the novel.
So you were able to deny the fact that I didn't.
That part wasn't in the book, honey. They made that part up.
I had nothing to. I wasn't in the writer's room. See, they turned around.
Nice, Jessica. I don't know how old your kids are. Have you?
Well, listen, I was just trying to count. We were having this conversation. I thought 6 books option. Not one of them's been on screen. So we need to collectively pray for that.
We would like them to go to the screen. That is true.
Yes, but I did. But as far as reading my books, my kids read them, and I asked one. I said, and she'll be like, I skipped the sex, Mom. Like they don't want to think, even though it's not me having sex, they don't want to think about my brain thinking about sex.
Oh yeah.
They just
like, ew.
Yeah. So it's
I love it. Trey, did your kids watch your movies?
They've watched the movies and read some of the earlier books, but then like bedtime stories, which is about them when they're little, and then it's about me dating. They say they're not going to read it till I'm dead.
That's fair. Where you don't get a chance to like explain. Like
I thought it was fair too. I wrote it. I mean, it's very graphic in a lot of ways. I write about. All of my books write a little bit about something about. Often there's some degree of sexuality in them, and so yeah, I think that they, just like your kids, Jessica. That's like it's ew. They don't want to read that.
Victor.
And I think the kids are a little young for just to be interested. Like, not even that it's scary, but it's like there's no kids in them,
Well, there's monster kids.
There's a monster baby, but it takes a while to even get to that. So I think they're very proud. I would say the closest I came to anything associated like that, I brought our older son one day to the set for The Changeling. And he just found it incredibly boring.
Oh, wow.
And I can see that.
Just wanted to be on his device. Like, it didn't matter to him at all And he was right. It was not interesting what we were doing at that time, a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, you know.
Adjusting lights, readjusting lights.
Yeah.
But I bet he reads
moving
your
the
graphic
camera,
novels, though.
shooting it again.
I wish so, but no. I mean, he's an anime kid, so
anime, yeah.
I need to
Well, the
write some-
comic books, he has to love the comic books. Come on.
No, it means nothing to him. And
You need to slip it under his pillow, like, so whoa, what is this thing? Like, oh, it's been there.
our kids are also like are thoughtful enough that they just be like, Dad, you're being needy. You should give it a
I
rest.
love it when our kids can read us. Like,
Yes.
oh, yeah. You're right.
So I want to spare myself that truth.
Yeah. You guys, we went way, way, way over. But I love you all for staying so late. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure. Everybody who's watching playback, thanks for staying to the end. And I want to thank again the DeGroat Foundation, Poets and Writers, and NISCA, and of course the DCLA for funding us, the National Book Foundation, and the National Poetry and the Poetry Foundation. And of course, say goodbye to Caitlin and to Charles in the front row. Thank you for watching from the front row. And next month, we will be back on the second Tuesday of April. Christina.
Oh, yes. The second week. I'm like, our April Literary Salon. The theme will be obsession, addiction, and compulsions. Our authors are Xavier Trevino, Evan Dalton Smith, and Nicole Hartunian.
It's going to be amazing. So you should all come back. And thanks again to our amazing authors. You guys have a great, great night. And we will see you in April.